Hello, hi, this is Krish. I'm from IIT Gandhinagar. I study in the Department of Material Science and I'm a sophomore here. So let's just start with the class today. So today we'll be talking about chemical kinetics, the very topic which deals with the rates and mechanisms of particular reactions and what wonders, what scientific reasons has it got so as to satiate our curiosity. So let's just start with it. So I would say a particular reaction can be defined by two particular aspects: thermodynamics and kinetics. So let's write it down. So a reaction can be defined by two aspects: thermodynamics and kinetics. Now what is thermodynamics? So thermodynamics is heat or energy and work that are employed in general so as to define what a particular process does or how is it happening. But in this particular case of chemical reaction, thermodynamics has a role to play. It tells us about the feasibility of a reaction. Feasibility. Now, what do we mean by feasibility? And what does this foreign term mean? Well, feasibility can be defined as you would say in general, like if a reaction is feasible, like is it possible to carry out that reaction? This is what thermodynamics tells us about feasibility. So in science terms, you must have heard about the Gibbs free energy, or even if you have not. So we'll discuss about it in much detail later. But as of now, the feasibility of a reaction is defined in terms of a mathematical expression which says if the delta G value, the change in Gibbs free energy of a particular reaction, is less than 0, it is very much feasible. So this is told by thermodynamics, and Gibbs free energy has a great role to play. It's a great role to play on this. So this is what feasibility tells us about. If a reaction is possible, then it will happen. So let's take an example. Okay. So we very well know that diamond has a long catenated chains of carbon, single bond carbon, right? Diamond. The carbon is sp3 hybridized in diamond. Okay. But in graphite as well, we see carbon single bond carbon. Just the difference is that the carbon single bond carbon here is sp2 hybridized. One electron just floats between the layers and is mutually shared by the consecutive layers. So that's another matter of fact. But in both of them, we do have carbon single bond carbon. And thermodynamics says that the delta G value of this reaction of diamond changing to graphite is less than 0. So I will say that last year that your mom must have bought something, or like your acquaintance, your relative must have bought a diamond ring worth crores or millions, right? And now you know that the diamond is going to change into graphite sooner or later. That's another matter of fact, but it is going to change into graphite because thermodynamics tells us that it is feasible. The delta G value is less than 0, but it doesn't change, right? You don't want your $1 million diamond ring to change into a substance as cheap as a pencil lead. As a matter of fact, you don't want it, right? So why doesn't it change? Why doesn't diamond change into graphite, even though it is thermodynamically feasible? Well, we'll answer to that, and the kinetics comes into play, I must say. Till then, just ponder over this particular question. We'll talk about it very soon. As of now, let's focus back to thermodynamics of a reaction. So, in terms of reaction, thermodynamics also tells us about the energetics involved. Energetics. Okay. I'm not going to rub this. Keep thinking about it. Still, you must focus on the board as well. So energetics, what does energetics mean? You know what? For a reaction to go from state A, let's call it initial state, to final state, and a reaction would proceed from initial to final state only if it is stable, and a particular reaction is stable only if the product is energetically stable. And everyone wants to have a stable life, low energy, calm, steady. You want to be lazy, you want to just just relax, sleep all day. And everyone wants peace, right? So the same goes with chemical reactions. They want to be in the minimal energy state. And this is the main motive for a chemical reaction to take place, getting into a lower energy state. But everything happens for a cost. If you want to live a luxurious life, a relaxed life, you need to first of all build some value. You need to have some money so that you can have that luxury, right? So yeah, the same goes in here. In order to go from initial state A to final state A, the final state being lower in energy, on the y-axis we have the energy, let's say. So in order to go from initial state A to final state A, you have to have a particular peak. In order to have a relaxed life, you need to have a particular peak of your life. Like when you have millions or billions, I would say, in order to live a longer relaxed life, you need to reach a state of your peak productivity, peak amount of money in your bank accounts. So you need to get to a stage only after which you will be able to get to your final stable state. So this difference of energy, in order to reach from state A to, let's call it, transition state T, you need to spend some energy, and this is called the activation energy. The activation energy is the energy required for a particular reactant to reach from state A to a transition state, so that from transition state it can quickly turn into its final or stable state. So this energy requirement, EA, activation energy, is also comes under the category of thermodynamics of reaction. And just as soon as this activation energy is achieved, the reaction is in the reaction, as you would say, gets up to a certain equilibrium, and then it quickly turns into a product. So this is it, right? So the energetics are also dealt under thermodynamics part. And what else does thermodynamics tells us about a particular reaction? Well, you guessed it right, I guess. It tells us about the extent. It tells us about the extent up to which a particular reaction would go. For example, let's say, the precipitation reaction. Precipitation reactions most of the times turn to completion. Okay, so the formation of AgCl, as you can say. So we have silver nitrate. It is generally present in solution. You must have done this in your chemistry laboratories. This experiment, it's quite common. So silver nitrate when mixed with sodium chloride, this is generally the solvent in solution form. It gives AgCl, which is a white precipitate and soluble in aqueous solution of NaNO3. So this is a reaction whose extent, as you would define it almost reaches to completion. Whereas there are certain reactions which are you'd call reversible reactions as not to reach completion most of the time. We'll talk about it later, but now we've got to focus on kinetics part. So these three things is what thermodynamics tells us about a reaction. Now, when thermodynamics has so much role to play, why do we even need kinetics? Well, let's come back to this question. Thermodynamics says diamond can change into graphite. Okay, your mom's diamond ring is gonna change into graphite sometime, and you can have a hefty laughter. But it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, right? It doesn't. So this is because the rate is too slow. The rate is too slow that even for a whole lifetime of 80 or 90 years, whatever span you live, you won't even see a single change of diamond changing into graphite. You won't the hardest substance, diamond is the hardest substance in the world. You won't see diamond changing into a slippery substance. Graphite is slippery in nature. You won't feel the edge slippery somewhat. You won't, because it takes thousands, in fact millions of years for diamond to change into graphite, because the kinetics, the rate is too slow. This is where kinetics comes into play. You won't see diamond changing into graphite because the kinetics is slow. Okay, I think that was pretty much nice example. So kinetics tells us about the rate, first of all, the rate of a reaction and the mechanism. Thermodynamics doesn't talk about the mechanism of a reaction. So let's take another example, how kinetics has a role. So let's say you have a motorbike. A motorbike has a fuel tank, but a standing motorbike with a full fuel tank won't just start by itself, and you can't just go for a ride without giving it something, and that something is that ignition. You need to give that spark in order that your bike starts. So as soon as you give the ignition, spark happens. And what does spark do? Well, it provides the energy, it provides the activation energy for the fuel to start burning. It provides the activation energy. But the spark happens for a fraction of a second, or I would say as long as a second, but it doesn't, right? So yeah, it happens for just a fraction of a second. But the fuel keeps on burning. Once you start the bike, you can go for a long ride. Right. So what keeps the fuel? What keeps the fuel burning? What do you think? Why does the fuel keep burning? So the answer is the mechanism. The mechanism of the reaction is very important for the fuel to burn. Fuel burning is an exothermic reaction. Exothermic reactions are reactions in which heat energy is evolved. Heat energy is evolved. And the products are generally, in burning of fuel, the products are generally gases, and heat energy is evolved. So exothermic reaction is what keeps the reaction proceeding in the forward direction. So this is what keeps the fuel burning. The mechanism being exothermic reaction. So this is what kinetics has a role to play. So now we know what the two aspects, thermodynamics and kinetics, do for a particular chemical reaction. Right. So one more quick fact: kinetics derive from a Greek word. The terms that we face generally, that we have generally in science and other subjects, generally derive from the older words layer, from the older literature, Latin or Greek. So this kinetics also derives from a Greek word kinesis, which means movement. So yes, the kinetics deals with the rate of a reaction primarily. Okay. So yeah, and to sum up this whole discussion, I personally would point these two terms into two simple words. For thermodynamics, it's stability and for kinetics it is the state. Okay? Yeah. So as of now, well, you know what? A question to ponder would be: we have Qutub Minar in India, okay? And Qutub Minar is primarily composed of iron, but it stands tall. It has stood tall for millennia, right? So why is it so? The rusting happens. The rusting reaction being, of course, Fe plus O2 plus H2O. When iron gets oxygen and moisture, it turns into iron oxides and all. Iron oxides or hydroxides. Now these can be balanced by simple balancing equations, which we will talk about it in later chapters. So why doesn't Qutub Minar why hasn't it rusted yet? Why hasn't it fallen down? Well, that is a question for you to ponder, and come back with an apt reply, and we'll talk more about it. Okay? Yeah. But I must say, there's a pretty much interesting fact related to it. Okay, so now we know about the thermodynamics and kinetics of a reaction, right? Yeah. So let's since we are chemistry students, let's talk in terms of chemical reactions. So let's take a simple reaction: R changing to P. R changing to P. Let's say R. So R is initially in a container. R is initially in a container. You can say, yeah, you must have seen camphor or naphthalene balls, right? So if you burn a camphor, or like just don't burn it. Even you just put some camphor in open air, and when you come back after an hour, you'll see an empty container. So what has happened to camphor? What has happened to this camphor in my container? Who stole it? Well, nobody did, because you put a camera in the room and you saw nobody coming. So this camphor is vaporized to change its phase, and now it can be called as a product, because the phases are different and we can distinguish two substances on the basis of their phase as well. So you can call it like R could be this camphor and P is the vaporized form of camphor. So what has happened in this particular reaction? We see that the reactant has got consumed, or it has perished, or decomposed, whatever you want to call it. The reactant has gone on to reduce, because the reaction this is a forward moving reaction. And P is the vaporized form, and P has formed out of the reaction. You would be quite amazed to see that this is an empirical reaction. This happens. So the decomposition reaction is an empirical reaction, and it generally comes up in an exponential form. So you would see product formation to be following this curve, concentration of product, call it, and with time, of course. And of course, after some infinite amount of time, or if the reaction is too slow or too fast, then it just stabilizes after a particular amount of time. And this is the product formation curve, and this is the reactant decomposition curve, concentration of reactant. With time. let's say starts with 0. Okay. So if you want to talk about in terms of mathematics, so let's say initially we had the concentration Ri. Initially we have the concentration of reactant R is Ri, and finally it turns into Rf. Let's say, let's take the initial time t to be 0 and the final time to be equal to t. So how much has the concentration? How much has the concentration of reactant changed? So it has got to be Rf minus Ri. This is the concentration. Okay. It's generally expressed in mole per liter, like molarity you would say. Activity, we'll talk about activity. Activity is a pretty important concept, and it's slightly different from concentration. Well, that's for another matter. As of now, so this is the change in concentration of reactant, and this has got to be negative because in this particular reaction we are assuming that the reactant gets decomposed so as to form the product. So what would be the rate? Rate of a particular thing is the rate equals change per unit time. So t minus 0 delta I equals Rf minus Ri upon t. So this is the rate of decomposition of reactant, and a rate of reaction, I would never call it negative or positive, because a reaction is something which you talk in terms of universality. Okay, so the rate of decomposition of reactant can be negative, rate of forward direction can be negative, but so yeah, you can call it to be Rf, rate of forward direction, small Rf. Let's because that won't arise confusion, right? So yeah, the rate of forward reaction is negative because reactant gets consumed in the reaction. And let's say this is this stoichiometry 1, and the reaction is of order 1. We'll talk about all these terms, don't worry. For the time being, just know that the rate of this reaction is got to be minus Rf as of now, and Rf is this delta R by T. This is the Rf. Thank you, and we'll talk more about this. We'll discuss more about this, and we'll go through some amazing examples and real life applications. We'll see what kinetics plays in our daily life, has role to play in our daily life, and we'll talk more about it. Thank you.